Russians! The Russians! Actually, the Soviets. Yes, we're going back to the Cold War. We're going to take a look at Tom Clancy's The Hunt for Red October because it kind of feels appropriate. Welcome to Matt Reviews Books. I am your host, Matt. And if this is your first time here, this is a book review channel dedicated to older books. Books that may have been bestsellers at one time, but no longer. And they're kind of dirty and beat up and the best of the best. And they're cheap because you can go to a used bookstore or ask your ex-wife for all of her books that she doesn't want. That's not to say that I won't review any newer books, but probably the only one I would really want to do would be George R. R. Martin's newest one, Winds of Winter. That still hasn't yet dropped. Where is it? This week we are talking about Tom Clancy's The Hunt for Red October. You know Jack Ryan? That's a character that really has gotten a lot of play in the movies, but it got even more play with Tom Clancy's line of they were called techno thrillers, but they're not really sort of techno thrillers, but also political thrillers, sort of. Yeah, we'll go with that. This one specifically. Well, wait! Do you hear it? The sound of Synopsis. So Tom Clancy's The Hunt for October is it's a spy novel, but it's less of a spy novel than Jean Le Carré. It's more about the Soviets have this super high-tech missile submarine, a nuclear submarine, and its captain decides that he's going to defect, and he decides with only a handful of other people, senior officers, they're all going to defect. He's handpicked these officers specifically for this reason. And they're all going, and they're going to take the sub to the United States. And nobody knows what he's doing because it's so super hyper high-tech that nobody can find the sub. Top of the line, state of the art. Which is where our hero comes in, and Jack Ryan is a CIA analyst. He's not even an analyst at this point. He's a guy who once sort of worked with the CIA for a while, but he's really a history teacher. And he gets sort of brought back into the CIA because, honestly, he likes the thrill of the work. And they try and figure out how, first of all, they can get the sub into their hands, the Americans, and then how they're going to be able to give it back, because they're going to give the sub back after they look at it, and how they're going to allow which crew members to defect and which ones to go home. This is not exactly the one that got me hooked on Tom Clancy. It's that one was Red Storm Rising, which is more of a generalized World War III, but it's all European theater stuff. That got me hooked, and I really like that one. This one, it seems more focused, and it's a great read. It's a fun read. Here we go. We have sort of the everyman as you can get in Jack Ryan, and it's dated. It's very dated in that it's Cold War and it's 80s, but at the same time, for some reason, it still feels relevant. I don't know. So, moving on to thoughts. I'm not necessarily a techno thriller kind of guy. I'm not really a thriller kind of guy. It takes a specific kind of books. That's like me with movies. I don't like horror. Some scary movies are okay. I like them. This is sort of like that. There's very few in that genre of what Tom Clancy does that I will read. In fact, I don't even really read Tom Clancy anymore because a lot of his books are Tom Clancy and somebody else. And I've tried to pick them up and they don't work. They don't feel as fresh as these original books. These older books that are first when he was an insurance salesman typing away in his office. I'm just assuming. I know he was an insurance agent. These books, or this book specifically, The Hunt for Red October, first of all, it humanizes the Soviets. Which I always really appreciate. When the enemy, or the adversary, or the antagonist is not just the big bad, but rather have their own set of motivations. And it was really nice to be able to read this during the Cold War and be like, oh yeah, it's more our governments are at war, but the people themselves are just people, right? So that was one of those nice things about reading, and it seemed to be that one. That's the book, Hunt for Red October, that really had some of the action and the suspense, and it's much more about analyzing information, which in hindsight is appropriate. Why I would like that, because I studied history in college, and that's kind of thing I can see why that would work well as somebody who sort of thinks that way. Take little bits of information and pull it apart and make educated guesses at some point. So, with that, I will leave you with these profound words. Words which may, in fact, change your whole life. See you next time.